I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560, The Answer.
AM 560, The Answer, Chicago's Morning Answer. Chris Crockett for Dan Proft. He's back on Monday. 312-642-5600 is our number, 312-642-5600. Joined by Matt Kittle, senior elections correspondent for the Federalist and previously served as the executive director of Empower Wisconsin. Matt, thanks for joining us on Chicago's Morning Answer.
No, thanks for having me.
You still in Wisconsin?
In Des Moines, Iowa now.
Oh, as Mick called it when I saw the Stones there in 95, I think. Hello, Des Moines. Hello, Des Moines.
Des Moines, that's right.
Yes.
Famous for a couple of things. Home of the Iowa caucuses, of course.
Yes.
Or
yes.
As Rush used to call it, the Hawkeye Caucus. And
there
this
you
is
go.
the place where Ozzy Osbourne apparently bit the head off of the bat in 82.
Yes! I was going to say I know what year, but you beat me. Shame on you, sir.
That.
And then he reportedly cut off. That's all right, brother. He cut off the concert to go get a rabies shot.
It was a good idea on his part. At least that part of his decision making.
That's exactly right. Well, I had to ask you. There's a couple columns you've written recently that I wanted to ask you about in the Federalist. The first one about the Obama White House deep staters proved to be the real threats to democracy. So they tell us, and they told us for years, actually, and even Biden was saying this garbage too, and still would, that Trump is an existential threat to democracy or to this country, right?
Yeah.
And in fact, you're right, which I strongly agree with. The record shows just the opposite. So isn't this how they usually have done things? At least I'm not going to say from 20 years ago, but I'm saying the last 10 years, 12 years. Isn't this exactly how they've always done it? They literally are doing something dastardly, and then they accuse us of that exact thing they're doing. Isn't that it?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, the deep state has been doing this for a lot longer, but during the Trump era, the mission of the American left, the Democratic Party, which of course has been totally taken over by the radical Marxist left, they have done everything they can to diminish Donald Trump, his administration, his presidency, and that is exactly what the game plan was in the Obama White House in the final weeks of 2016 into early January of 2017, just days before President-elect Trump began his first term. And, we go into the ICA report, the Intelligence Community Assessment, that based on a trove of documents show was absolutely manufactured.
Absolutely agree with you on that. Now, let me ask you something else, too. Tulsi Gabbard came out and said when she announced all these documents she's releasing and the second tranche, etc., she said that this is a network of bad actors, which I'm sure we all agree with, that are trying to subvert the will of the American people. And then she asserts, your column says, she asserts it was treasonous election interference. I have the definition of treason, and I'll ask you this first, though. It is treasonous, isn't it?
It seems that way based on the documents that I've reviewed, and so far I've reviewed hundreds of documents surrounding this. We have emails, that are showing that the intelligence community leaders at that time, John Brennan leading the FBI, leading the CIA, James Comey leading the FBI, and James Clapper intelligence, they did everything they could to ignore or to push back against career intelligence agents, saying what you are putting together in this assessment about Russia collusion with the Trump campaign is absolutely wrong and false. And yet they went forward with this because it was politically driven on their part. It had nothing to do with protecting America. It had everything to do with interfering in an election and toppling the administration of their political enemy. So, yeah, I would say that based on that, treason is a pretty good definition.
So here's the definition that I pulled up from the American Heritage Dictionary. The betrayal of allegiance toward one's own country, especially by committing hostile acts against it. Absolutely, that's what this was, what former President Hussein Obama did. The other definition, the offense of attempting to overthrow the government of the state to which the offender owes allegiance. The other part here says disloyalty, treachery. So those are parts of the definition I think exactly meet or fit what the Obama administration did to Trump in trying to destroy his presidency.
You know, it's funny, Chris. This information, the ICA report, came out on January 6th, 2017. This is when it started leaking out, and the usual suspects in, the accomplice media grabbed onto it and ran with the narrative as these lapdogs are known to do. But it is interesting that date, January 6, 2017, based on these documents, this very well could be the real insurrection.
Yes.
Or attempt at an insurrection.
That's exactly right. That is exactly right. I want to ask you this, too. Do you think some of these former Obama officials are going to go to jail?
I think some of these former Obama officials could go to jail. If you ask me if Obama, who was the point man for all of this, according to the documents, Tulsi Gabbard has a lot of information on that and has said that he is culpable clearly in this. I don't think that he will go to jail. I think that ironically, the U.S. Supreme Court saved him in a 6-3 decision, quite frankly, that said that actions taken in the official business of the president are immune from prosecution. But John Brennan, who appears to have lied under oath, among other things, has some worries, and so does Mr. 86 James Comey.
Yep. I agree with you very, very much. So, Hillary Clinton, this is so hysterical, and it fits. I've called her for years the lozenge lizard. Remember, she's like, give me a lozenge. So the lozenge lizard, a.k.a. Hillary Clinton, we now know that she was suffering from, according to the Russian intelligence and according to the intelligence that Tulsi Gabbard just released, that we're all reading about, that she was suffering from, and I love this. It totally fits. And this is so great. This probably gave her a coronary. Suffering from intensified psycho-emotional problems, and that she was on, as my one of my dear in-laws in Chicago says, she was taking a lot of kitty tranks. Or in this case, not kitty tranks, but that's our joke in the family, but tranquilizers and such. And that the Obama administration people, the Hussein Obama people, were alarmed at at this stuff. How much truth do you think there is to that? I mean, we see the video. I retweeted it yesterday, today, of her almost collapsing, and she can't even walk into that van after the 9/11 ceremony. Mm-hmm. I mean, do you think all that's true? How much truth is there to that?
You remember that scene from Old School where he accidentally shoots himself with the elephant tranquilizer? That has the feel of it. Although I don't think there's anything accidental about this. And I, as I note, the least surprising thing from these documents is that the DNC officials found Hillary Clinton to have severe mental health problems and an insatiable thirst for power. These are the sort
I believe
of
that.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is the stuff that the Kremlin had. Remember the whole WikiLeaks stuff in 2016? I remember covering the Democratic National Convention in Philadelphia that week, and man, it was very, very tense when those emails from the DNC dropped. But that's the sort of stuff that the Russians had on Hillary Clinton, and that absolutely blows up the idea that Putin was trying to do everything he could to elect Donald Trump. They would have dropped that stuff,
yes,
months before, and certainly right close to the election when it started to even up. And so that cast, just the whole notion that there was Russia collusion with the Trump administration, that cast it in such a different light.
So, I want to ask you about this, too. You in one of your columns, you say, Brennan, according to the report, picked 5 CIA analysts to write the intelligence community assessment, the ICA, and rushed its production in order to publish 2 weeks before the presidential election was sworn in. So, some of the words I wrote in my reaction to reading that today in your column this morning are undermine, destroy, and take down. That's what they were trying to do to the president, President Trump, and his first term there. Are those realistic words? Undermine, destroy, take down.
I think those are perfect words. I think that absolutely fits in what they were trying to do, because at every turn, people who had information kept telling them, what you are trying to sell is wrong. It's unverifiable. It's unclear. It's piecemeal. The one nugget that they had that could possibly suggest their theory was correct, nobody could verify. And so they disregarded all of that, and they disregarded all of that because the Obama machine was going with the insurance policy that
Yes.
Peter Strzok and Lisa Page talked about in those very damning emails.
Talking to Matt Kittle, former elections correspondent, senior, you're not fired yet, senior elections correspondent for the Federalist. I almost fired you. And previously serving as the executive director of Empower Wisconsin. In my radio career, growing up in Chicagoland, it took me through Wisconsin, Madison, and Eau Claire, Wisconsin, etc. So, and most of us grew up going to the Dells and all that stuff from Chicagoland. Just a little sidebar there, but here's a quote from a quote from within a quote of your column. Our instructions from leadership were that anything we had was to be used, and we were to push this. So whatever we had, throw it at the wall. Everything. What do we know? This made me think about whistleblowers that Tulsi Gabbard has mentioned. What do we know about whistleblowers, and how many, and what are they saying? What do we know about that right now, as far as you're aware?
Well, we know multiple whistleblowers, and one in particular who had the kind of intelligence that was absolutely necessary to put together a post-election report that altered, that was completely different, completely opposite from what Brennan and crew were trying to pitch. There were whistleblowers. One of the documents, one of the tranche of documents released this week, such impactful documents, came from a 2020 House Intelligence report where they had numerous CIA and intelligence community officials, basically saying what you are trying to do here is absolutely wrong. But again, that advice fell on deaf ears.
Matt, it has absolutely been a blast spending some time with you this morning. Thank you for laughing at my jokes. I appreciate it very much. And thank you for making me laugh. And most of us laughed this morning on Chicago's Morning Answer. Appreciate it. Look forward to the next time.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate being here. Take care.
Thank you, man. Take care in Des Moines, my friend.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Coming up next, we have the Italian community in Chicagoland